For almost 150 years, the Saratoga name has been synonymous with the finest quality, sustainably sourced spring water available anywhere. Saratoga carries on the rich tradition of its forefathers by crafting each stunning blue glass bottle with the same attention to detail and care that has been its hallmark for generations. Visit SaratogaSpringwater.com today or ask for us by name at your local market or restaurant. Saratoga Spring Water. Make every day exquisite.
Here we go. Welcome to Talking Horses, Kentucky Derby edition. Greg Wolf, Maggie Wolfendale. First time we get to do the show together, so I'm excited.
No, a lot of fun.
Happy Derby Day.
Happy Derby Day. It's a little brisk here at Belmont, but hey, we also have fans back today, so that's really special.
Yeah, that's going to be the first time in over a year we're going to have fans in these seats. It's going to be a lot of fun. I gotta know your Derby pick again.
Hot Rod Charlie. I'm going with Hot Rod Charlie. I respect Essential Quality. I think he can win, but a little bit better price for a guy who's won the Derby before in Doug O'Neill. I love the way that he won the Louisiana Derby, already at a classic distance. So It's all about him. How about you?
I think Essential Quality is way the horse to beat, but I think he could wind up running the best race and not win the race just because of all the problems you could have with his 20-horse field. I went to a big long shot. I like Helium. I'm not sure how quite good he is yet. His first start on dirt. He comes in as undefeated. Everyone's talking about Rock Your World and Essential Quality, the two undefeateds. He's the other one. The first two came on synthetic. His dirt debut was awesome. He lost so much ground in that race. Horse came up to him, hidden stash, and he re-rallied and put that horse away. I love that effort. He's got to move forward. If he can, I think he has a shot.
It's been a while since he's run, too.
Yeah.
But I can't blame you for taking a big price.
Ran really good fresh on the dirt. We'll see if he can do it again. Yeah, it's going to be 6 weeks for him. A little bit longer than that, actually, up to the Kentucky Derby. So, yeah. Enjoy it, everybody. We have a good card here at Belmont as well, including Mr. Buff looking for his first graded stakes, and we'll get to that coming up in a minute.
Don't tell him it's a graded stakes, Greg. Gosh.
Exactly. Sorry, Mr. Buff, it's just a normal race, okay? How do you play all the action today? You get signed up, started with Naira Bets. Use that promo code DERBY25. Get you $25 free play in today's Kentucky Derby, and also a deposit match of 100% of up to $200 at sign-up. Go to nairabets.com or download the app as well. We also have this. Bet $100
cool.
at each track today. Belmont and at Churchill. You're going to do it anyway.
Yeah.
So just get the $20 bonus and do it through the Naira Bets app. Good luck to everybody. Again, that's app only. Keep that in mind for that 100 bonus. Cross country pick 5 we have for you as well. So much going on this afternoon. Comprises races at Belmont and at Oaklawn. It kicks off at 3:48 Eastern time. And if you're playing on the app, it's XCP5 for that cross country pick 5.
And we will have those Oaklawn races on our show, America's Day at the Races, which is coming up at 12 today. We take a little break from 3 to 4, and then we're back on FS2 from 4 to 6:30. So make sure you tune in or watch on YouTube. You can have, Churchill coverage, and you can watch us on the computer. So.
All right, let's get into today's card. We have a good one for you. We're going to kick things off. 16,000 claiming race, horses who've not won 2 lifetime in here, 6 for a long distance. Warden in the North is probably going to be favored in here. I had some concerns with this horse, including the fact that twice he's been a vet scratch before coming back.
Well, exactly. We've seen him try to make comebacks here for Linda Rice. Now, she does have decent numbers, 180-day layoff in dirt sprint. She's hitting at about 18%, 15 for 80, 85, but a low ROI. And plus, I mean, this is a horse that we actually don't know what he can do on a fast track. Both of his best efforts have come on a track with moisture in it, and I do question the overall quality of the field that he beat, which was a maiden 25 for New York breds. I think he might be facing, I know it's a lower level race, but he might be facing some okay horses if he does end up to be favored. I think he's, vulnerable as a favorite.
So I see you went to Future Book in here. What were you thinking with Future Book?
So I think this race is calling out for somebody to go the lead. There really isn't a clear-cut pace horse in here. And if Louis Cardenas and Dave Donk can be aggressive with a horse who has shown the ability to be forward, he's on the outside. I think he's a little bit dirtied up with those turf races. Dropping back down to this level, yes, he is a horse I think, that needs the lead, but this is the race. This is the spot where he could do it. He could be the pace horse in here and just take them gate to wire.
I went with a horse that I see you pick second in here, Spitball. The other Linda Rice runner in this race, and that last start, I'm not even concerned about that. It was a sloppy track. You see a race in the mud is too. Those were throwouts.
Yep.
Before that, he was running against 25 N2L, and he actually hit the board against Liam's Fire in a tougher spot in here. I think essentially on a fast main track, dropping in class from the last time he was on a fast dirt track. That form bodes pretty strong in this spot here. So we'll see. He's 7-2. Probably going to be around 3-1 or something, but right around that price. And he's going to get a nice tracking trip in here, so I went with Spitball.
Exactly. I think both the Linda Rice horses, they're going to take money in here. Spitball, though, I feel like the one that you can count on a bit more. And Warden of the North, just from my time in the paddock, too, he's a heavier-bodied horse, so he might take a race to get going. And plus, you said the vet scratches are something.
I will say, interesting. Sorry to cut you off.
Yeah.
Interesting long shot, who another one just throw out that last race. It was on a sloppy track. Grotto Swing, a horse I think you can maybe at least use underneath. He's got some races. It took him a long, long time to break his maiden, but that first try against Winners, that was tougher as well. He ran okay.
He did, and his maiden breaking score off of a layoff was all right too. So it feels like he is a horse that if you can forgive him for that very sloppy track race, and if you can get back to those 2 races that he had as a 5-year-old previously, he could be one to throw in.
You do this so much better. I need a computer. Windy days, this is not ideal. Let's move on to race 2. It's on the turf, 6 furlongs on the grass, sprinting for non-winners of 3 lifetime in this spot. I went to the 4 in here, if I could find it. Yes and yes. Cutting back in distance in here, been showing speed going longer, but he's quick too. There's a good chance he can be on the lead in this race.
And we saw him. He was aggressively handled. This is his start 4 back, actually, when he won going the 7-8 beneath Dylan Davis. And Dylan Davis also out right now, a little bit longer of a healing process for that injured broken collarbone. But this was an impressive effort, I thought, Greg. Now, his later races, especially going long, this horse is not a route type. He wants to go short, but the problem I have with him today is, well, the layoff. We've seen some of these Phil Gleaves horses come back off the layoff, and they just seem as though they need a race. And 2, I think he gets some other company up here with the addition of a horse like Montauk Daddy, who could be close to the pace as well. And I know he hasn't been quite as fast in his turf races, but it is for a different barn now, and Rob Atras, I just thought he could kind of soften up yes and yes a bit.
All right, we'll see. Yeah, to me, those 2 turf races outside, in terms of the sprints, outside of the race where he had to deal with Faya, who's becoming, even though he got beat at Churchill in that stakes race, he went off the favorite in that race.
Yeah.
He's one of the best turf sprinters in the country right now. His 2 races prior to that, they're better than anybody in this field, but as you mentioned, the layoff, the big concern.
Yeah, and as far as Faya is concerned, he was vanned off, and he was diagnosed with heat exhaustion. He wasn't sweating yesterday, so that was a major problem. Hopefully they'll regroup, and we'll see Faya back at the races. But I ultimately went to a horse that you'll probably get a decent price. Also one that has to contend with the layoff, Greg. I get it. But that's number 9, Primo Soleil, as he gets back to a turf sprint. And he's a horse that, based on his physicality, I do think that he is more of a turf sprinter. I like the fact that in those turf sprints here on the NYRA circuit, he faced some good horses, such as Duress, such as Winter's Back, and that was even going longer. So he drops down in here today. I know he showed up off that long layoff for the 35, but that's okay. I think it's kind of an almost similar type of spot that he gets in this claiming 50. Blinkers go on for a guy, Dave Duggan, who I have the utmost respect for, and is very selective with the spots that he picks for his horses, and his overall grouping of horses too.
Meanwhile, Slippin' Jimmy, he ran big last start. That was at 5 furlongs though, so we'll see with a little extra ground. And then I thought another interesting one, you have him second.
Yeah.
Claiming off of Wesley Ward though, Artemis City Limits.
Not an easy thing to do, I will admit, but in his last race, which was a comeback on a sloppy track at Keeneland, he was wide throughout, and then he just kind of got tired. I thought he moved too quick into a pace that ultimately fell apart as well. And then you go back to his 2 turf sprints. Yeah, he was disappointing in an Ontario-bred race at Woodbine, but then he faces Olders as a 3-year-old.
That was a tough group.
Tough group, exactly. And I know he was 8th that day and only beaten 3 3/4 lengths. And as you said, it outclassed this group by a mile.
High Crime won that race that Maggie's talking about. That horse was just second to Leinster in a grade 3 at Gulfstream.
Exactly. So I think Mike Trombetta, we don't see him claim that many horses and even bring them here. So I feel like there's some intention with running this horse in this spot.
Third race. Here we go. Grade 3 Westchester. And we wouldn't even be having this conversation, but the fact that it looked like he had signs of colic. He was 4 to 5 in that grade 3 Excelsior.
Right.
Mr. Buff we're talking about, he had to scratch. He probably would have won that race. And almost immediately after they gave him antibiotics, he was fine.
Yeah,
he's fine today, but now he's got to deal with a horse, Dr. Post, who, of course, was runner-up in last year's Belmont. The mile, his best distance is 1 1/8 miles.
It is, because he's such a big horse. I mean, look at the size disparity, Greg, between him and Musical Heart, who we saw come back and win the flat out yesterday. So it flattered Mr. Buff with this performance. It doesn't look like he's going fast. His legs are moving slower, but he's just that much bigger and covering that much more ground than anybody else. And because, as you were mentioning, with that 1 1/8 mile distance, he gets comfortable. He gets in a rhythm. He can unravel that stride.
The good thing, if someone tries to pass him, he can just swallow him.
Yeah, eat him for lunch.
Literally.
Exactly.
He's a huge horse.
He's so big. He's 17-1, I believe.
Yeah.
My problem is this is a flat mile, as you said, and he looks to have company. You have Wicked Trick stretching out. What are they going to do with Top Seed? He's been forwardly placed throughout, too. So I don't think his job gets any easier today.
John Kimmel's always said he doesn't believe he has to be on the lead, but he needs to get into that kind of rhythm. Where he gets comfortable, and it just seems like, at 1 1/8 miles, he has more opportunity to do that.
He is posted well, so Edgar Zayas, who is climbing aboard for the first time, and as we well know, Mr. Buff can be, I don't want to say a difficult horse to ride, but just you have to know him a little bit. And we saw Junior Alvarado, and then obviously Kendrick fit him well, but Manny climbed aboard it and got the job done in the Stymie last time. So we'll see how he does. You have to respect him, though. 44 lifetime starts, 17 wins, 1.3 million in purse earnings. But I just thought this race could set up very well for a horse that when I first looked at this race.
Don't talk to me the rest of the day.
I know. You're
I love
your
Mr.
crush.
Buff.
I love him too. But sometimes you have to handicap.
And Manny goes to Dr. Post, who was on Mr. Buff last start.
Right, exactly. And this horse, something went wrong in the Jim Dandy. He was hot, he was washed out that day, and then he really had no answer whatsoever as the beaten 3 to 5 favorite, as this is him running second to Tiz the Law in this past year's Belmont. And a horse that, this was 1 1/8 miles, to be fair, which I thought might be actually stretching him a little bit when I first kind of looked at him, and then I thought, well, maybe he can be effective. So it does feel as though what I'm trying to get at is a mile should be okay. And Todd Pletcher's numbers with horses coming back in dirt routes off of a 6-month plus layoff are outstanding. He's 31 for 84. 37%, and he's actually 4 for 12 in graded stakes. So with those numbers there, I thought this race just set up perfectly for him as well.
They don't usually have to come back, though, against the likes of a Mr. Buff. We'll see. It's going to be fun to see these two, because Dr. Post, he can develop now as a 4-year-old maybe into a really strong horse in this handicap division.
No, it's fun to see him back for sure, and it's fun to see if Mr. Buff can finally get that elusive graded stakes victory.
A lot of people rooting for him this afternoon. 4th race on the card. New York bred 25 maiden claiming race. It is 6.5 furlongs. And this outside horse, wow, just left for dead out of the gate, dropped back to dead last, and just made Scotto a sustained, continual run to run second with a clean break. He's going to be very tough, but another one who's been a vet scratch on a couple of occasions since that race.
Exactly. I have trouble trusting him. And he physically, he's a bit of an awkwardly put together horse. I don't love that. Yeah, he ran great behind a horse that, despite it being maiden 25 and Writer's Regret, has come back and run some fast races subsequently. So I just find it really hard to trust him. And he's going to be a short price. He was 18 to 1 that day. I feel like we missed the boat with him a bit. He's going to be favored in here for Rudy Rodriguez. So I shouldn't say we. I thought you picked somebody else. I looked a little bit. I thought you could get a little cute in this race. There's some horses with some limited, more unexposed form. Obviously, he's unexposed too, but there's some drop downs. And number 10, Forgotten Mission, I thought, obviously, this is the first time he's getting on a true fast track. Adds blinkers on. watching that last race, when he actually showed some gate speed, he was up close, but he was down on the inside. And when you saw him go around the turn, and it kind of always tightens up, the horses kind of fold over a little bit, and he just sucked himself right out of there. He was never comfortable. Now he's posted on the outside. He gets blinkers on. I think this horse could show some speed. That would be, in his best interest to be forwardly placed here with Nick Juarez, who we saw ride very well yesterday. I think Forgotten Mission smells a little upset.
And if you're playing exotics in here, we both have the horse fourth, actually. Majestic Sky, that's 6. Second time out for Kimmel. This horse took money in that debut. It was 5.5 to 1. Productive race, too. Second, third place finishers both came back to win at this same level next time out.
And I like the fact he actually showed a bit of early speed. He showed he could be forwardly placed. And then, again, when horses kind of got in front of him, he started climbing so badly, Greg, from the kickback. So we'll see if we get a more professional effort from Majestic Sky.
I'm excited to see Scotto, though, because that second start was impressive.
It was. I mean, he dead last and just a consistent run throughout behind a horse that was on the front end.
We move into another stake on the card, Grade 2 Fort Marcy here in the 5th. It's a mile and an eighth on the inner turf. I'm going to be honest, I had no clue what to do in this race.
I chalked it out.
Got 3 in here. If you want to listen to, is it Dan Stupp?
Yes.
His assistant?
Yeah.
Says Rock Emperor is feeling himself right now, the way he's been breezing here at Belmont. So if you trust him, maybe that's the way to go in terms of the Chad Brown runners.
I love Dan. He was a former assistant for Tom Albatrani. He's moved on to Chad Brown now, and he's like one of my favorite people. He's a great guy. He's a great horseman. And the fact that he said that, I took it to heart because Rock Emperor, sometimes he gets somewhat pace compromised, but going the mile and an eighth today, I thought that could happen, but the fact that he's coming in fresh, I thought he wasn't going to leave himself as much to do. And I mean, how can you knock him, Greg? In all of his starts last year, triple-digit buyer figure after triple-digit, grade 1 after grade 1. I know his last race maybe it was a little bit lackluster, but ultimately, I think a mile and a half actually might be too far for him.
Yeah, that could be the case. In Jose Lezcano, I trust. That's why I wound up going with Devamani. We saw what he did when he came back on Caneños the other day for Brad Cox. He's such a difference maker on the turf.
No, he's always been a superb turf rider. I mean, I'm going back 15 years ago, remembering Jose when he was riding more in the Mid-Atlantic. So I agree with you. All these horses have layoffs to contend with, every single one of them in this field. So also you are trusting in Chad Brown a little bit, but let's give Christophe Clement a little bit of credit. He said that this is probably more of just a stepping stone for those New York bred races with City Man. But I thought his race against in the Gio Ponte against Open Company was pretty good. And now he's a newly turned 4-year-old. There's every reason to believe he can improve those figures that he was running. And I truly think he is more of a turf horse. And I think that connections are heeding that fact and are plotting a turf campaign. I don't think he's good enough to win, but I think he needs to be included in the conversation.
This is an interesting race. And here is City Man in that Gio Ponte you were talking about. Wins by a nose here at 4 to 1.
Yeah, and I like this effort. Bodie Cream, he's not a disgrace as we see him on the front end, who he's ultimately going to run down here. I will admit, City Man, he's got a little bit of hang in him. As you see, he kind of wants to hang on Bodie Cream a bit, and Junior Alvarado does a great job of kind of willing him to the wire. So he is a horse that I think, as I said, he's going to have to step forward as a 4-year-old, but there's every reason to believe he could.
I'm not even convinced Tribe Yvonne can't win this race. There were 3 next out winners in that race, including North Dakota, who came back to win a grade 3 in the Red Smith eventually. He's coming off a long time off, July 4th of last year, but maybe he can move forward. And what do you think about Wishikan? Am I saying that close to correct with Jonathan Thomas?
Sounded better when you said it, I'll admit. We have 2 horses coming back as geldings, the 2 that you just mentioned. And last time out, we saw Guido in that Saratoga race just fly off, and he's 20 to 30 lengths behind. He just had too much to do. Now, it's unfortunate we see him off for such a long time because I thought it was an effort he could build upon with a more ideal type of setup for him. And maybe he gets it here today, but I think I'll take the wait-and-see approach with him.
All right, that's the 5th of Fort Marcy. Again, Chad Brown with 3 in that race. Pick 6 starts next, but we're going to break for a minute?
Yes, sir.
Okay, we'll break, come back, talk Pick 6 right after this.
Make business meetings exquisite. Make a weekend outing exquisite. Make a late night snack exquisite. Make a night on the town exquisite. For nearly 150 years, the Saratoga Spring Water Company has been producing the finest spring water available anywhere. Saratoga Spring Water. Make every day exquisite.
All right, we're back to talk start of this pick six here. I love that we're back to this traditional pick six. It's a $1 wager, but just chances for bigger scores, and we've been seeing that already.
Yeah, and it just feels like an easier, more kind of seductive type of wager now. I always liked it the traditional way, in which we've got it back now.
Well, this kicks it off. Mile and a 16th on the main track, $10,000 claiming race. The first of 3 top picks for me, who I like this afternoon, who scratched out of the race. And that changes things here. Colonel Juan coming out is a big scratch.
Yeah, it's a huge scratch. And I was so excited to see him run here at Belmont, because you watch him run. He's this big, loping type of horse. I thought he'd love it here. But unfortunately, we don't have him. And I'm not thrilled with my top pick, I'll admit. But I like the fact that he showed some serious signs of life. And I thought his last race was almost even better than it looked on paper. In number 1, Playwright, it was a really, look, it was a very sloppy, or a muddy racetrack. He was up close, out wide, dropped all the way back around the turn, and as you see him, he's really wide here. He's nearly 10 wide, and he comes from dead last just to be beaten half ahead by Frankie Perron, who we see forwardly placing here. So the pace ultimately held together in this race, and he was the only one doing any kind of running. I know he's a little bit tough to trust. As an 8-year-old now, some of his better days have been behind him, but I thought that effort hinted at maybe the old Playwright's getting back into action.
Yeah, horse that beat him that day, you mentioned Frankie Perron. You got to pay attention to these Oscar Barrera horses, because they are running at this meet.
They are, and he's been very good in the last 6 months, first off the claim, so I am scared of Frankie Perron, but he does go from Mike Maselli, who, as we consistently see, does a great job with his claiming horses, but Frankie Perron could be the speed of the speed in here, too.
Yeah, Mr. Short and Simple, he's going to be forwardly placed as well. I ultimately wound it, like you, I didn't feel great about this race with Colonel Juan scratching in here, but comes in off 2 very good races. Hammer and Ammer, that's a tough customer he had to deal with last time.
I totally agree with you. I respect Mr. Short and Simple. He does come in off a bit of a break, so we'll see how he plays that. But his first start out of restricted company, and graduating from the non-3 in that 10, I thought it was a really respectable effort.
It's always tough when you have to go to your alternate select, especially when you really like a horse in a race.
You feel so confident, and then you're like, oh, God, I don't feel confident at all anymore. But what about direct order? I mean, you have him 3rd, I have him 4th. He's probably going to be favored in here, isn't he? I feel he's so hard to trust, especially at a mile and a 16th. I've never liked him going anything more than honestly, I know he's won at a mile, but I don't really like him at a mile. I prefer him at 7 furlongs.
I mean,
he needs
closing
that
sprinter.
pace to come apart. Right. He has that one run.
Don't love him, but tough to leave off your ticket if you're going to play a pick 6, though, for sure.
Yep.
I even thought Deep Sea, he's not in my top 4, but a little interesting, because he's got some races at Parks that you go back to that are just light years better than almost anybody in the field, but he hasn't gone back to those.
No, I know. That's the thing. You have some suspect form with some of the other horses, and you picked a horse who is in good form right now.
Tough race to start off this pick 6, no question. The 7th, back on the grass. It's 7/8 of a mile in this New York bred entry level allowance coming up. Let's see. You wound up with the 10 in here, who I picked 3rd. That's Swashbuckle. Excuse me.
I feel like my the top 4 you could just throw, box them, in other words. Swashbuckle I went to because in his last start, which was in a late in the season, possibly one of the last days. I think actually that was the penultimate week of turf racing in New York last year. And so it's a completely different course than what he's getting here today. And he just never looked comfortable. He wanted to get a little headstrong with Joel. Then he wanted to get out around the turn. And Joel didn't really persevere with him. He had a stout hold on his outside right rein. Never really got down and rode him. And how many times do we see Chris Ackerman, especially with his New York breds, turns them out for the winter for a bit, brings them back, develops them 2 to 3. They tend to improve, and I thought he didn't have to improve that much to handle this field. But look, War Terminator, he's going to be tough. It was an impressive win first time out, and you could see this horse as I believe we'll show you the replay.
How big a fan are you of Joe Bravo right now?
Yeah, after yesterday, locally owned, Joe is on my good list. But watch this horse. Watch. He gets into him, and he's like, well, okay. And then all of a sudden, he just hits another gear right there. Right there. See? You can see him quick in his stride. Maybe the top 2 are fading a bit. But it was a good-looking score. But it was pouring. We were dealing with a very soft course.
Yeah.
And, you deal with some horses that are just not going to like it, where it looked as though he relished it. So it's a little bit more of an even playing field. I respect that first effort. I respect his connections, but I thought maybe you get a little better price on some horses that might be dirtied up.
Yeah, we both threw the 12 in there. Chrome Dixie, interesting, coming out of a stake. This will be his 3-year-old debut as he returns for Clement as well.
You like Scotty Brown.
I like Scotty Brown actually a lot in this race. I look at the thoroughgraphs, and on the thoroughgraphs, he actually paired up his last 2 races, so it looks like he's coming into this race with an opportunity to run best race potentially of his career. I'm not concerned. This last couple of races, 5 furlongs where he ran so good, he's won it a mile before. To me, I'm fine with the 7/8 in here. I think he's coming into this race the right way. He's going to get a nice stalking trip in this spot. I really like him in this race.
My problem is Jane Sabelli. On the turf at Naira, she's 1 for 21 with a 15-cent ROI. She's bringing horses that make a lot of sense on paper, but they are underperforming left, right, and center. And I've seen it since I started working here, and honestly, Andy was the one who turned me on to her poor stats here in New York. It's tough to take her at a short price.
Training great, too. This horse always trains good, though, in the morning.
Yeah.
We'll see. So as a result of that, maybe I'll get an even better price than I think. We'll see.
Hey.
But, yeah, taking a shot with a horse stretching out in that 7th to start that late pick 5.
You know who I like a little bit as a price? I know he doesn't win a lot. He's 3 for 47, but that's Bad Guy. His last race on the turf over at Aqueduct was great. I like the 7/8 for him. He's run some of his best, fastest races at this distance, and he just kind of always shows up. He's not a win candidate, but you got to use him because he's always so consistent.
Yeah, and that horse, Mandate, I believe, is that Pletcher?
It was Pletcher.
He ran a really big race that day.
He did.
Yeah.
He did. So that was my long shot in this one.
Okay, let's move on to the 8th. 6 furlongs in her turf. Another one where a horse I liked in here, I thought was going to go gate to wire, Mun Love. That horse scratched. The 4 comes out as well in this spot. Patty D. It's a maiden special. 6 on the turf, as mentioned. The 9, Candy Jar for You, who I have second.
I just feel like her numbers are just the most dependable. She was chasing the pace. Winner came from last this day. I don't know. It may have been, just apples and oranges of trips here because the winner actually got left a bit at the start. And she fights on gamely. We'll see her in the Godolphin Blue for Bill Mott. I just thought, look, she does have 3 seconds in a row, but at some point she's got to win, right? My problem with your pick, you know what Chad's stats? This is a horrible stat for Chad. There aren't many.
All right, what is it?
3-year-old and up debuters in turf sprints, he's 2 for 23, 9%, 59-cent ROI. And it's not like this one has a great pedigree. I know they paid $230,000 for her last year at the OBS, April sale that took place in June. There's some pedigree going back. Look, the dam's a full sister to Flashing, but she was a dirt horse. The second dam was a European runner. Obviously, she went 3 for 4 on the turf. So you have to search a little bit for some pedigree, and he's just not strong with these types of moves. He also sends out Strafe in here. Warfront's a great influence, obviously, for switching to the turf. But the dam won the Tempted. She's a half to Lewis Bay. There really isn't much turf pedigree on the bottom side.
It's all dirt. Misconnect won the General George. You mentioned Lewis Bay, multiple graded stakes winner, sprinting and routing. Winslow Homer, who was a graded stakes winner.
Right. It's a huge dirt pedigree.
Yeah, so Strafe.
Wild America has the best turf pedigree of the ones trying it or debuting. As daughter of American Pharaoh, the dam was a 2-time turf winner. 2 of the foals to try have won on the turf. They were cheaper, modest races, but
He gets these horses, though. I'm sorry, back to Chadford. He gets these horses with dirt pedigrees to run on the grass.
No, I mean,
he
honestly,
continually does.
I like Strafe more than I like the debuter.
It seems with Klarovich, obviously, he gets these horses to the winner's circle more than with anybody else. That's why I wound up there.
This is my honest 16th, and I might pick crowding out, but I just didn't feel comfortable. I mean, we'll see what I see in the paddock, but for 2 horses with some untrustworthy pedigrees in this type of spot, I just thought might as well look somewhere else, and they're both going to take money.
The Mott's going to take a lot of money, right?
Yeah. Candy Jar will be favored. Look, I chalked it out probably, but
Outside, by the way, the Linda Rice runner, Dan was a 7-time winner on the grass, or 7-time winner, I should say, 2-time winner on the turf.
Yeah.
Lescano's aboard.
Right.
Interesting.
Yeah. Wait, why don't I have? Did I? My pick is supposed to be the 11.
Oh, it is. Oh, so you did go with Wild America. 9/11?
Yeah, 9/11.
9/11, 610 for Maggie. Okay.
I'm really bad at typing. That's probably my fault.
That's okay. All right, so that is the 8th. That kicks off the late pick 4. It's going to be really interesting to see these 2 Chad Brown runners and how they fare in here.
Now this race, the 9th, is I struggled majorly with this race, Greg. It's tough. This is a tough race.
Rudy Rodriguez with Ryan's Cat, who he claims off of Chris Engelhardt, and then all of a sudden this horse becomes a super horse. Those last 2 starts.
And Greg, physically, he's turned inside out. He looks like a completely different animal when you see him before a race, and he obviously looks like a completely different animal running in a race. I mean, these are huge figures he's putting up, but he's doing it against lesser company. This is a real test for him today as far as class is concerned.
It is, and he's run some good races before. He actually touched the 90s Beyer-wise before, but he ran 100 Beyer in that 25 claimer, and then they put him in the Peeping Tom, and he dusts that field with a 97 Beyer. If he can run back to either of those 2 races, he's not going to lose today.
Yeah,
but
I know.
Can he do it with, as you mentioned, tackling a much tougher field in here? So you went to the 4 in here. Yodely Ahu.
I don't feel confident with this pick.
Okay.
Okay, so
and by the way, face Basin. I don't know what to do with Basin today.
Yeah,
in that Churchill Downs handicap against Whitmore.
I know. I
could see him taking a big move forward.
He could, honestly, but I'm going with Whitmore. But so I thought he was compromised in his last start. Down on the inside, broke slow, then he rushed up. Basin and Frosted Grace had established that early position in the race, and he just never looked comfortable being inside whatsoever. So now it's up to Trevor McCarthy to work out a trip, which he always seems to, for Brittany Russell, who we're very pleased to have stabled here on the Naira grounds here at Belmont. Actually, Tom, my husband, we share a barn with her. Great having Brittany here. And I just thought this horse has some numbers to go back on. He might sit the right kind of trip, just off the pace, hopefully worked out to the outside of it. And I just wanted to price in here because I know I wanted to highlight him, in other words, because I just feel like this is a race where anybody could win.
Look at that board. This might be the best betting race we have all weekend. You got Pete's Play Call on the outside. That horse is a warrior.
Look, he's won over $700,000 the hard way. I mean, 14 for 49 left. He always shows up. You have to respect him.
Didn't you guys beat him?
Yeah, with Last Judgment.
Okay.
Who Mike Maker's now winning Greatest Stakes with.
And then you have Free Enterprise for Chad Brown, excuse me. Coming off the bench, he gave Pete's Play Call a test when we last saw him in Saratoga last summer.
And I mean,
he's intriguing.
He is right. Because sometimes he runs a really fast race, and he's obviously has some talent. Maybe has a little bit of trouble staying on the racetrack. And last time it was just kind of a merry-go-round race. You know, Pete's Play Call was on the front. He actually passed him. Maybe you didn't want to be down on the inside that day at Saratoga where Free Enterprise was. he's very intriguing coming back. And then you also have 3 Technique, and maybe you look at it one way and that this is just kind of a prep for him to stretch out, but look at his 2-year-old numbers when he sprinted. He's running 83s as a 2-year-old in that 6 and then 7 furlong race.
I thought he was going to be really good.
I know, so did I. I know he's been a bit of a disappointment, but his race
still a good
2
horse.
back in a 1-turn mile here at Belmont behind Money Moves was an outstanding performance. And then he goes on the bench again. He's, like I said, I could see this race setting up for him. I could see a lot of pace, although that never happens here. It could. And it sets up perfect, because what are they going to do with Admonson coming back?
Yeah, I mean, you got to think him off the bench. He's going to be forwardly placed and quick. His Secret Rules and him look like, to me anyway,
And then you have Ryan's
two
Cat,
quickest in
he's
here.
play call sitting right behind them. I don't know.
Ultimately, for me, Ryan's Cat, I think, is going to run a big one. If he's got to keep it going here against Tougher, but that is a great race. And if you can find a horse to kind of separate yourself and key a horse in there, you have
well done.
a great edge on a lot of players playing this late pick 5. Sheepshead Bay, grade 2, my own 3/8. This has been the Chad Brown Invitational of late. He's won 4 of the last 5 runnings of this race.
It doesn't surprise me.
Muta Makina, every time I hear this horse, I think the Disney movie,
Movie?
Hakuna Matata.
So do I.
Christophe Clement, Jose Lezcano, what'd you like?
I just like her. Honestly, this race, I kind of fell back on what I have seen historically in the paddock. And I really liked her in both of her starts here in the States. And I know she probably got a perfect trip, perfect setup by Dylan Davis last time out in the Long Island. But it was a slow pace that she was behind, and she was able to run down her stablemate Traipsing, who Kendrick Crimmers probably gave an outstanding ride to that day just to get beat. I just like her, Greg. I don't know if I love her. Look, Sister Nat my Sister Nat is going to be tough. But this poor mare has lived in the shadow of her sister and Sister Charlie.
But no, they don't introduce her as that anymore. Now she's known as the half sister to Arc winner Sotsas.
Oh yes, that's true.
No longer.
6-year-old mare, she can't get any respect, but she's probably gonna get respect at the windows today. She's just run faster. She's run against better horses than many of these in here, and I respect her. But both you and I thought there were some other ways to go, and you went with Always Shopping, who she probably will be favored in here. She's just one I've never been able to warm up to.
I just love that she
Gotten good,
shows
though.
up, she runs a race, and she has gotten really, really good. She's consistent. Here's a look at her.
2 back.
This was back at the La Prévoyant, grade 3. Dominating win. She's got to deal with some tougher customers here today, though.
Yeah, and 2, she's a smaller filly, and I just thought that maybe she ran good at Keeneland, don't get me wrong, in the Dowager, but maybe she's a filly that just loves Gulfstream because she's smaller, she's handier. I don't know. I thought maybe I could find my way around and find some prices, but Antoinette, she could be loose in here. Isn't she dangerous? I mean, I know Always Shopping isn't slow, but Antoinette looks like the clear-cut speed.
Yeah, she looks to be on the front end. She's intrigued. She went gate to wire last time out in that grade 3 very 1. And then Magic Attitude, we saw that Belmont Oaks Invitational. We'll get back to it in a minute. Oh, here we go. I thought she was going to be a star after this race. That was so impressive.
Yep.
And we'll see. Maybe she can take a step forward this afternoon.
No, she didn't meet any slouches in the QE2 in her next start after this in Harvey's Low Goyle and Micheline. Obviously, Micheline winning her next time that they met in the Hillsborough, her first start back as a 4-year-old Magic Attitude. Now, Micheline did not return to run well in the Jenny Wiley, but that was over a very yielding course at Keeneland. And I just thought she was headstrong, and she was never really clear in the stretch in that Hillsborough. There's every reason to believe that Magic Attitude could get back to what we saw from her in the Belmont Oaks today.
Zayas has a couple of big mounts today. Antoinette could put him to sleep in this race.
Yeah. Absolutely. I'm scared of Antoinette for sure. I don't have her, but I completely respect her.
The other Chad Brown runner in here, is it Orglande?
Yeah.
What do you make of her?
She's interesting. She's going to have to improve. I don't think she necessarily met the toughest field in that red carpet handicap, but she was impressive that day. I liked the way she finished up there at Del Mar, but she's going to have to find more.
Yeah, asking a lot. And she came from so far. She was an even money favorite in that race. This is
exactly
light years tougher group she's going to have to deal. This is a really good field
It is.
in the Sheepshead Bay.
It is. That's why it's a 10.
11th on the card. Again, major scratch in this race with the 5 in here, Lemon Taffy, coming out for Mike Maker. It's a New York bred 40 maiden claiming
I don't know
turf
why they didn't take that out.
route. Yeah, we'll get that changed. They're mounted 16th on the turf. The 11, though, the 5 is out of this race.
Yeah, so my pick should be 3, 9, 11, 4.
And mine did get updated. Okay, there we go. So I had to adjust. We both did. I wound up going to Freedom Machine in here. Again, it's Jose Lezcano. Has had a lot of opportunities. Was last seen at Tampa. I just thought there were a couple of intriguing efforts that against this field, there's no stars in this group.
No, and this is the first time she's meeting New York breds. Yes, those fields at Tampa aren't great, to be fair. And she was a beaten favorite last time out. She steadied slightly in the stretch, but overall just kind of an even run from her. Barbara Mitchell does a great job, so does Rick Schosberg. We'll see what she does. She's dangerous. I think you have to use her protectively, but I went with a big long shot in here, or at least I hope she's a big long shot. And hopefully people don't look at her pedigree, but I'm going to tell her you have a pedigree right now.
Okay, sure.
Number 3, Adriatic Rose. She's right on the turf. Yes, that was her debut, but all my notes say, love turfer, but she wants to go long. So next start, they tried to go long with her, but she was rained off. She can't run on the dirt whatsoever. So they put her away for the winter. She is the dam's a 3-time winner who made $188,000 on the turf. She's a foal to Nico's Dream, who is a stakes winner, 4-time winner, made over $266,000 on the turf too. So there's pedigree with this filly as she drops in class today for Dave Donk. I really like her in this spot.
Am I thinking of a different horse? Was that Barclay Tag? Nico's Dream?
Nico's Dream, yep.
Okay.
Yeah, Barclay Tag. She won a stake at Gulfstream, and she's run competitively in our New York bred stakes for the fillies and mares too.
I thought Emma and I, another long shot that's intriguing. It's about not quite the price that you're going to see with that Donk runner, but only time's been on the turf against state bred maiden specials. Getting back on grass for the first time in a while in here.
Yep.
It's Zayas again. We'll see.
You leading on some Zayas love today.
Yeah, certainly did. This race just became very difficult, I think, with that 5 out in here.
Yeah, she looked like the one to beat.
If you're alive in this late pick 5, I would definitely want some coverage in this final.
Yeah, I mean, and then there's like some some horses trying the turf for the first time. Honestly, the one that might have the most intriguing pedigree is the 6 in here, Elegant Lauban. Lauban's not a bad influence. A dam went on the turf, half sibling, who by Indian Charlie, who obviously Uncle Mo is by Indian Charlie, who's the sire of Lauban, won on the turf too. So I thought that was the one that, as a price, had the most interesting pedigree.
Yeah, dam wanted a mile on the grass, going a mile and 16th here. Great card today. This pick 5 is really interesting. Again, we talked about that race a couple back, that it's just totally wide open. Sheepshead Bay, you can go a lot of different directions. If your opinion's right today, you're going to be rewarded.
Yes, and best of luck. Looking forward to it, and hope everybody enjoys the Derby too. Some great racing across the country, especially here and at Churchill.
Horse that I know you're going with Hot Rod Charlie, but the horse you're most looking forward to seeing run today.
Ooh.
And maybe it's Hot Rod Charlie.
Yeah, quite possibly, yes. I think it is.
Okay.
I'm looking forward to the 2 Chad Brown horses coming back in the Turf Classic. Oh my gosh, my mind's just completely going blank. I can look for a
Digital
second.
Age.
But Digital Age. And who's the other one? Why am I'm blanking out? I'm really sorry.
I actually thought his other horse has a huge chance to win that race.
Obviously, as we discussed, we're looking forward to Whitmore, looking to get back to domestic spending.
Who's probably going to take more money. I thought Digital Age, though, looks really... Ivar, I thought, could be tough in there, too, if he can go longer.
Yeah, exactly. No, that's a great race. I mean, Chad obviously holds the keys to that one. The Whitmore coming back, as I said.
Well, Colonel Liam in there as well.
Yeah. I know. Despite coming out of what has been the best turf races so far, I actually think this is the toughest field that he's faced so far this year, Colonel Liam.
Interesting.
Yeah.
That's going to be fun to watch. I'm intrigued to see how Whitmore, if he can handle the 7/8. That's not been his best.
It hasn't. You're right. How about you? Who are you looking for? forward to?
That sprint race, I'm really looking forward
just a
to.
great race.
I am really
war.
high on Tappet to win. I think he's going to be a major force in the sprint division this year.
I'm looking forward to him coming back.
Yeah.
He was good in that return race. I know it was
Tampa.
against Florida Reds, but
It's all right.
he looked pretty good.
He did. See if he's going to have to move forward if he can. It's going to be fun to watch this year. Good luck to everybody. Again, get signed up, started, play all the action with Naira Bets. Go to nairabets.com. You can download that app as well. The promo code to use is SignUpDerby25. Get a $25 free play on the Kentucky Derby and a 100% deposit match up to $200 at sign up. Need all the extra ammo you can get here on Derby Day. There's so many options we have for you to play today. Bet 100 at Belmont and at Churchill today. You also get a little extra money in your account. You earn that $20 bonus, but you got to do it on the app. So app only, earn that $20 bonus. 100 at Belmont and Churchill. And this is another option for you. This cross-country Pick 5 begins at 3:48 Eastern time today. Again, as Maggie mentioned, we're going to bring you all these races live on the program on America's Day at the Races. And again, we kick off at
12.
12.
So in a little less than 15 minutes. And so 12 to 3 on FS2. Then we take a little break. Make sure you tune in with the app or the YouTube channel. And we'll be back on from 4 to 6:30.
That's all I got. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, I'm ready to go get warm.
Happy Derby Day, everybody.